Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 22 driver career mode here on the channel, season 2. On the way after our very solid rookie season with the Haas F1 team has now put us in position to of course jump ship into a better team of McLaren, who's now pretty well even with Haas in the R&D, so that's a little bit awkward, but we come through into this Bahrain weekend fresh off of preseason testing. In the last episode in the offseason, you saw the new liveries, you saw the roster changes. Unfortunately, we no longer have Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas on the grid. They both called it careers at the end of last season, so we come into this season with a bit of a hole there, missing those two drivers, of course, four-time world champion, and Bottas with a lot of, well, a few Grand Prix wins. He's a multi-Grand Prix winner, several Grand Prix winner, we should say now, as we were underway here in free practice 1, wasting no time getting on this circuit and hoping to pick up where we left off here in the preseason testing now. And we didn't leave Bahrain after preseason testing. We stayed here for the few weeks and we're ready to go, and hopefully that plays a role in how our performance with McLaren's going to be. Last season in Haas, when we started our rookie season, we could barely make Q2 at times, so the goal here is to make it Q3 in our first race with McLaren instead of like it was at Haas. Just see a bit of a mishap there for myself in free practice 1, but overall I was pretty happy with the car, but it was a bit unstable at times. Unfortunately, Ricardo had some issues, never got out on circuit, so I was the only McLaren driver that ever got out on track to make a lap here, as we were already rolling through into Saturday night here for qualifying and hoping that we can make it into Q3. One random thought that comes to my mind before we start: I have seen a comment about my helmet. The fish helmet is no more. This is the last episode that you will see the fish helmet here for the time being. I got a cool little storyline coming up for around the new helmet that you're going to see in the next episode, so stay tuned on that. Literally, I do storylines for everything, literally for a helmet at this point. Anyways, we crossed the line in Q1. It was a bit of a sloppy lap, so I was P6 behind Schumacher, in between him, my former teammate there, and Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, which Alpine, expect big things from them this season, but that would put me into a position to do a second lap, I thought, but I would go for a spin, so that would completely end it. But fortunately, our time in our first lap was still good enough to make it through with P14. Nicholas Latifi actually with a 5-place grid penalty to kick off the season for illegal blocking in Williams Porsche debut, by the way. Don't forget the Porsche team, they are brand new to the sport in this Williams rebuild. They have taken over, but still the Williams branding with the Gulf livery as well, so I'm very excited to see this Porsche Williams collaboration going into this episode here in Bahrain. Alex Albon looking a lot better than Nicholas Latifi. This is my attempt here in Q2, and my first lap, it was alright. Max Verstappen coming through to set the fastest lap here of the session, but overall it was an okay lap. It wasn't perfect. You can see I was the slowest of anyone that had gone at this point in the session, and I was down to 14th again, while my teammate of Ricardo was up in 6th, so obviously forced into making a second attempt at the very end of the session, back against the wall, having to make sure we put up the time, and we found 0.2 of a second here in the first sector, and we kept on finding a little bit of time here and there, 0.3 of a second now through turn 10, and we're gonna get close to 0.4, over 0.4, now up towards half a second as we came through towards the end of the lap. Now 0.6, 0.7 of a second out of the final turn. That will be enough to put us into Q3 in our first weekend with McLaren, so very happy with that. P7 just behind my teammate of Ricardo by a 1/10.5. He got us there. In P6, Sergio Perez out in Q2. He will start P12 in the Bahrain Grand Prix. A big mishap there for Perez, as we were linked to potentially take his ride until Red Bull. We did not help them enough to win them the World Drivers' Championship for Max Verstappen, and that's when Christian Horner pulled the plug on bringing me over to the Red Bull team, and now here we are with McLaren. Thank goodness we had a backup plan in place. Here's my lap though in Q3, only a one and done attempt. We only had one set of soft tires available, and you can see my teammate of Ricardo on the top left of the screen there on the leaderboard, currently in P7. So here we are going through the final turn. Got a little bit of curb right there on the right side. It shouldn't impact us too much down the front straightaway. DRS wide open to the line. It's going to be P9, so not exactly what I was after, but the goal overall was to just make Q3 at a track that I struggle at quite a bit, and well, we did exactly that. You can see Max Verstappen on pole over Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, 4 teams that are different in the top 4, which is awesome to see Zhou Guanyu there as well with a solid effort. But let's go to the Grand Prix weekend here in Bahrain. Let's get ready to race.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Russell, Charles Leclerc and Hamilton, Ricciardo, Ocon, Golden Boy and Guan Yu Zhou, Norris, Perez, Alex Albon and Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Schwartzman, Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll, Tsunoda and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. They've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
There you have the pre-race intro with Crofty and Davidson. Medium to hard compound tire strategy, pretty straightforward, and here we are ready to make our very first start with this McLaren F1 team.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. That may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race. Ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Alright team, fun to see a whole lot of new faces and get to meet a lot of new people over the off season, but I mean, we're going to put everything to the test now, so thank you for the support, and let's have a good night. You hear myself on the radio too, my brand new team, we're ready to go, lights up. By the way, let me know, would you still like to have the normal pre-race intros with Crofty and Davidson, or maybe switch it up and have me kind of go over top of it and kind of cover things happening to kind of spice it up or even change commentators? Let me know down below here as we are getting ready to go. Lights out, right behind our teammate of Daniel Ricciardo, our brand new teammate. It's lights out. We're on the way for a brand new season of Formula One action. 22 races once again. Nothing changes there with the season length. A couple of new tracks on the calendar this season with China as well as Portimao. But Max Verstappen leads the way down into the first corner of this Bahrain Grand Prix over Carlos Sainz, who's trying to fight alongside, but it's not going to be enough there. You see George Russell holding on to P3 now as he is able to overtake Fernando Alonso on this opening start of this Grand Prix as well. As a lot of single file action. There's some moves in the background. That's the Haas. I believe that's Kevin Magnussen. Yes, it is Kevin Magnussen back on the grid after I myself leave Haas to go to McLaren, and we'll see what he can do. Already one-upping his teammate of Mick Schumacher, as we were able to come out on top of Schumacher in the teammate battle a lot last season. You can see myself here side by side. That's with Esteban Ocon in the Alpine now. Beautiful livery on that Alpine now, as all my livery mods listed down below in the description here, and we're going side by side towards on the run to turn 10. Now that is such a tricky section of racetrack to go side by side with, no matter what, if it's with AI or a real player in a multiplayer race or whatnot. But you can see right there Sergio Perez, he's got some work to do. Not the start that he was looking for. There you see the Williams Porsche drivers as well as Pierre Gasly at the back. I keep saying Porsche, I know it's Porsche. I'm gonna get better at that, I swear. His we come through though, holding on to P9. So we start at P9. held on to P9 on the start, so I was pretty happy with that. Lap 3 kicks off, and DRS now enabled, so I'm just trying to stay within the DRS, of course, of Kevin Magnussen, but I was struggling a little bit early on because he was on the soft compound tire versus my mediums, and Perez, he's on the softs as well, but he's only up to P11, so Perez really struggling in these opening moments compared to his teammate Max Verstappen, who's, well, quite obviously leading the Grand Prix. A little bit of trouble for Alex Albon in the Williams Porsche, and his teammate of Latifi nearly piles in, so that was close there, but that would put Albon way behind, and already a rough debut for this Williams Porsche team. As you can see myself closing in on the back of Magnussen now as these laps were going on, and the DRS was bringing me a little bit closer lap after lap. We were just a few moments away, I would reckon. Here we are, lap 6, from going on this overtake opportunity on Kevin Magnussen. Where's he gonna go? He actually positions himself tremendously into turn 1, right there in the middle of the track. I mean, there was a little bit of room to the left, there was a little bit of room to the right, but I didn't know where he was gonna go, so I just didn't go anywhere. But the trouble continues for the Williams Porsche drivers, as that's Nicholas Latifi who rides up over the curbing towards lap 10. So another car off, and actually both Williams cars would basically start going off track on that same section of racetrack nearly every single lap, and you'll see it on the track map periodically. But here we are making a move on the Haas of Magnussen down into turn 1. We lost a lot of time to drivers ahead by not being able to get past them earlier, but we finally get the job done. We move up into 8th place, but we have some work to do. You see my teammate Ricardo and Lewis Hamilton up there, P6 and P7 as we start this 8th lap. But both the Williams cars were going off in turn 10 basically every lap, so they keep on doing it. They keep losing a ton of time. They actually might get lapped before like the halfway point of this Grand Prix if they keep it up, but this could cause problems later in the Grand Prix when lap cars or lead lap cars are starting to pass them now, as we start lap 10 already, and you can see Carlos Sainz 1.2 seconds behind, just out of DRS range on Verstappen. Russell is now under attack right there from Fernando Alonso, who wants the podium here today in Bahrain, or I should say tonight here, as it is night racing, but Russell holds on to the spot, but that opens the door for Charles Leclerc, the defending world Drivers Champion, now with that number 1 on the side of that Ferrari. Here he is looking up the inside of Alonso just about, but Alonso tries to fight alongside Russell, still can't get it done. They remain 3rd, 4th, and 5th. As that was happening, Kevin Magnussen pulls to the side of the track, and that's going to be the end of his Bahrain Grand Prix. A mechanical failure there for Magnussen after a few laps after we passed him, so very unfortunate for the Haas, but an opportunity for Zhou Guanyu to get back into the points. Now, take a look at turn 10 again. Another Williams off as usual. These Williams Porsche debut drivers, or debut for their drivers, is an absolute disaster here, as I decided to pit a lap early here. My pit window opened at lap 13 to put on the hard compound tire, but I noticed there was such a gap to Hamilton and Ricciardo that I decided to pit early. Hamilton did overtake Ricciardo as well throughout that run now, as these hard compound tires are going to go on, and we are going to get back rolling here. But so far, not a bad kickoff here. Sergio Perez, he also pitted earlier, but that was because he was on the soft compound tire to start the race, as he's going to get an easy overtake because I nearly wrecked the car on the exit of the corner right there. A huge save, but we continue on, as now you can see pit stops starting to occur. There is our leader of Max Verstappen, who is definitely determined to win the World Drivers' Championship this year, especially in the fashion that he lost it last season in the final couple of Grand Prix, with Brazil leading into Abu Dhabi, of course. Now, as you can see, after the pit cycle had completed, unfortunately, Esteban Ocon, who was a few seconds behind me, is now nearly a second in front of me. Fortunately, he was on those cold, hard tires. It takes about a whole lap for them to really warm up, so that would open the door for me to get really close and then have DRS, and I was able to save a little bit of battery to where we could potentially make a move down here towards turn 1. He is clearly using overtake as well. You don't see that rear light flashing, but we're going to go to the left side around the long way of Esteban Ocon. He holds on for the time being. We're still side by side. We're going to drag race right here. We are going to have the DRS again, but I was trying to save some batteries, so I didn't even bother using overtake. He's still using overtake and remains wheel to wheel as we head through the right-hander. Fortunately, we just have more grip right there, and we are able to complete the pass on Ocon. So back up to P9 for the time being. Perez in P8, lap 16 of 29, halfway through this Grand Prix about now, as we go for a little bit of a mid-race update. Max Verstappen has increased his lead to 2.2 seconds over the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz, and just behind them them is one of the Williams Porsche drivers. Now, George Russell, Alonso still battling for that final spot on the podium. Hamilton has also not only passed Ricciardo, but he has passed Charles Leclerc. He's up into 5th, and he is on the move as he's clearly run down Alonso and Russell. Hamilton might be the fastest driver on track aside from Verstappen, maybe Sainz as well. He's at least the 3rd fastest right now as you go through the rest of this grid. Lando Norris in his debut for Aston Martin, currently in 11th place. Schwartzman in his Formula 1 debut, running in 15th, a few spots off his teammate of Zhou Guanyu. And there you see the Williams Porsche drivers of Latifi and Albon again, and this time Albon stopped on the exit of turn 10. That would bring out a safety car as there was a bunch of traffic going around him, so the safety car comes out as where P9, the pit stop cycle had run its course, so nobody coming into the pit lane here, so we were just settling in and getting ready to go back racing. But this obviously presents us an opportunity to go now fight our teammate of Daniel Ricciardo and other options as well, like a Sergio Perez who really seems to be struggling. But we were getting ready to go back racing. As we were getting ready, already towards lap 19, things would develop even further. Lewis Hamilton pulling off track. You see the smoke pouring out of the back of the car. He is out of the Grand Prix 2 seasons in a row. He will DNF due to a mechanical failure in Bahrain. Very unfortunate there. We were ready to go back racing. As we're getting ready to go racing, Mark immediately comes in with an urgent message.
Be smart on this restart. Do not compromise Daniel. We want both cars in the top 10.
You hear Mark telling us to not compromise Ricciardo, so basically don't take him side by side on the restart now, as I kind of backed out of it briefly, and here goes Esteban Ocon. Well, he's going to compromise the whole field just about down into turn 1 with a move like that, and oh my goodness, he caught me napping, he caught everybody napping there, as we do actually gain one of the spots back on Perez, not the one I expected to pass right there, but we do get the job done. So we were up into P8, but a weird kickoff to this restart, lap 21 of 29. 10 laps ago in this Grand Prix, or 9 laps ago I should say. Now you can see myself dealing with a little bit of oversteer, but now just trying to stay within DRS of Ricciardo. We got a spin in turn 1. That's Alonso, who's been fighting for podium all Grand Prix long. Well, he's around and he's stopped. This might bring out a safety car. Let's wait and see. And there it is. The safety car comes out again here in Bahrain. So we are turning into a bit of a wild ending towards this Grand Prix, and on board with Alonso, who just throttles up in turn 1, and around he goes and throws an incredible Grand Prix away, unfortunately. Mark again with another message.
Reminder to not compromise Daniel here. There is too much to lose. Again, do not compromise.
Do not compromise. Daniel into turn 1. You hear it again. So basically, they don't want to take us side by side and have one of us potentially lose out to the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, who's going to put the fight to my left side here on this restart. So immediately you see me protecting the inside but not attacking Daniel to respect the team. I'm brand new to this team, so of course I'm going to respect what they're telling me. But you can see, look at the wheel spin. We are struggling, hanging on for my life. This opens the door for Perez to fight back up the inside. It's been a rough night for Sergio Perez. He struggled to move his way forward, and I'm going to make it even more difficult here as I'm trying to hang on to P7 in the Bahrain Grand Prix, going a little bit wide right there on the right-hander. Just 5 laps ago, and Max Verstappen's done everything he's needed to do here under the lights in Bahrain, as he is now just, you know, trying to hang on to this race victory, as we are trying to stay within, again, the DRS of Ricciardo 3 laps ago. And both of the Williams were, by the way, still having issues, but a couple of the AlphaTauris actually ran into issues as well. So Williams, Porsche, and AlphaTauri make up the last 4 spots currently on the leaderboard, with 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix, still within DRS range of Ricciardo, but we're going to need some help if we're going to be able to make a move and have something go our way. That might be it right there. Ricciardo is all over the back of Ocon, who actually had a lockup into the final turn. That allowed Charles Leclerc to go through. Ricciardo's going to have momentum, and he's going to make a move, and I'm going to try and follow him through, use a whole bunch of my battery as well with that DRS wide open and that slipstream. All those 3 combinations gets me pretty close to these 2 drivers through turn 1. They are side by side. I love what I'm seeing. Where do I go? The left, right? I don't know. Well, it's going to be the right side. We're going to get past Ocon potentially here, but Ricciardo, he has DRS, but we have more speed. 3 wide, it's going to be into the right hander of the the final lap of this Grand Prix. We are wheel to wheel for the first time with our brand new teammate of Daniel Ricciardo on the final lap, still 3 wide. We come out on top of this battle and take P5 from 7th to 5th in a matter of seconds in Bahrain. Unbelievable scenes on this final lap there. I was presented the opportunity. You have to take it now as we get back going on the exit of turn 10. This might be Ricciardo's chance. I didn't get the exit I was looking for. Here he goes with that overtake on. The DRS wide open. He looks up the inside. I leave him plenty of room, trying to race my new teammate respectfully as possible, but he is not able to make it work. So now we should be in pretty good shape here as we are P5, P6 for McLaren. A great debut for this team. A sloppy start to the weekend, but we have recovered well. Max Verstappen is going to go back-to-back. He won in Abu Dhabi last season, didn't win the championship, but he wins the season opener in Bahrain over Sainz and George Russell. The podium there, Leclerc and myself in my debut for McLaren, P5, and we beat our teammate of Daniel Ricciardo. We were only ahead of Daniel Ricciardo for about half a lap, maybe 3/4 of a lap the whole weekend, but it was the 3/4 of the lap that mattered the most. P5, we will take a driver of the day, Sergio Perez. Let's head to the podium celebrations.
Smiling faces on the pit wall then after that superb win here at Sakir. And rightly so, a brilliant effort from the whole team. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
One of the better Bahrain Grand Prix that I have definitely had in Formula 1 22, and yeah, I mean, can't complain about the performance either. I mean, things went really well. Bahrain's a scary Grand Prix sometimes because I feel like, I don't know what it is about this game, but it feels like that this track has the most common, mechanical issues and failures for a car. So I was a little bit concerned about this one, but we were actually able to hold on just fine, and of course have a very strong effort there of P5. So yeah, no complaints from myself. Very happy with the speed that we had. Like we said, it was a rough start, but we had a fantastic ending to the Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz did get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so Verstappen does not get all the points available. Schwartzman in his debut there, 12th, but another penalty again for Latifi. He had one in qualifying as well. But obviously the points going to be the same, but the Constructors is where we're looking at. P3, 13 back in the Constructors for McLaren. Ferrari at the top of the board over Red Bull. Mercedes down to 4th. Alpine could have been in 2nd if Alonso and Ocon didn't have their issues later in the race. But that's going to do it for us. We're going to head to Saudi Arabia and towards Jeddah for the next Grand Prix. We're going to take off from the one runway here in Bahrain, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.